This is part 4 of the Athol 644.5 Swivel Jaw, Swivel Base Vise Rebuild Series. If you haven't seen part 3, click the link at the top of the screen. In this video, we will be cleaning up the parts from the citric acid bath and then modifying the handle. Hello everyone, I'm Jeff and welcome to my shop. We got a lot to cover, so let's get to it. So here we are after about 24 hours of citric acid bath soaking these parts, and we're going to remove them and then rinse them off. So the citric acid, as I said in the previous video, will remove most of the rust. And I've had various people tell me in the past that you should neutralize these parts after you pull them out of the citric acid to keep them from rusting again. But my process is basically remove them, rinse them, scrub them with a wire brush, then dry them off as best as you can. And if you're going to be painting them, then do not do anything further with them. If you're going to not paint the part, then a lot of times I'll go ahead and coat them in WD-40 for the time being, and that'll cut down on the surface rust redeveloping. But most of these parts are going to get painted, so we're not going to be coating them in WD-40. We're also going to come back and clean almost all of these parts again with a wire wheel. So coating them with the WD-40 right now just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So as you can see, the citric acid definitely did its job and removed the majority of the rust. But by the time we dry them off with the towel, you'll see that they've gone from this kind of silver look to kind of a bronze look, and that's the surface rust redeveloping. In the past, I've been hesitant to use compressed air when trying to dry them off because I believe that probably accelerates the surface rust a little bit, but I'd rather do that than have water sitting on the part and it develop rust spots that aren't uniform across the entire part. So I dry everything off with a towel and then blow it off with this compressed air. Now the lock handle and the lock nut for the swivel base appears to consist of 3 separate parts. You've got the handle, the nut, and then there is a pin. And that pin looks like it's a blind pin, like it's only coming in from one side. I don't see it on the other side of the nut. So I'm not going to disassemble that because getting that pin out with it being a blind pin is a real pain in the butt, and I don't want to damage it. I mean, we've already had to drill out the lock pin for the swivel jaw, and I'm trying to keep as much of this vise original as I can just because of how old it is and what it represents, and it's not my vise. So here we are with the main body, and we're just drying it off like we've done all the other parts, and then we'll blow it out. So one of the things that I've learned while cleaning this up was that the key that sits inside the bore of the main body that rides inside that little groove, if you will, on the round protrusion under the swivel jaw and locks the swivel jaw to the main body is removable. And when you look at the patent diagram and the wording of the patent for this vise, it states that there are 2 pins that one sits on each side of that key and kind of locks it in place. And this vise must have been built sometime after that patent when they had, I guess, improved on the design. And so that key can be pulled out, and I pull it out, and it'll probably be in the next video when we start cleaning everything up with wire wheels, and then clean out that channel a little better that the key sits in. And you guys will see that much better in the next video. I just wanted to mention that. So cleaning the inside of the dynamic jaw, that whole long area there that the main screw sits in, is going to be interesting. Here we are with the screw. And it's at this point that I realize that there are two center drills, one on the ball and one at the end of the screw, that are obviously there so that they could put this between centers when they turned that screw. And there's a good amount of grease caked inside each one of those. And I'm going to have to get that out of there. So I'll clean it up a little bit with a Q-tip. But yeah, just keep finding more stuff about this vise as I work on it. So looking at the handle, the end ball on the right hand side is attached to the bar, whereas the end ball on the left hand side is all formed from the same piece of steel. It's all one piece. That the bar and the end ball on the left are all one piece. And this ball was attached, and I can see the seam. So I tried knocking it off of there, and you never know whether it's welded or what, or if it's pressed on there when everything is heated up and then allowed to cool. But it's not coming off of there. So the same is true. I'm not sure how they attached it, but the big ball at the end of the screw is separate from the screw as well. But God only knows how they got it on there, and I have no idea how to get it off. To get the end ball off of the handle, though, we're going to cut it off. So if you saw my Reed Vise series, you'll know exactly what we're going to do here. We're going to cut that end ball off right where it meets the handle. And then we are going to face the handle and that end ball. And we're going to center drill them. Then we're going to drill them out, tap them, and insert a threaded rod. But this gives us the opportunity to straighten the handle. I really need to get a hydraulic press, but not having one, a hammer and a piece of railroad track and a ruler, and we can get it relatively straight. And it's not going to be perfect, but no big deal. And this handle is already really marred up, so beating it with the hammer is not going to be a problem either. What is going to be a problem is getting this into my metal lathe. I can only push it in as deep as you see here. So that means we've got a lot of work hanging out there past the chuck, which can be a recipe for disaster when you're turning stuff on a small home hobby lathe like this one. But we'll work with it. So we're going to face it, and you can see it's not perfectly straight, but it's close enough. And after we've faced it, we're going to center drill it. And this will ensure that we're getting as center as we can, but, we're going to be offset to one side or the other simply because the handle is not perfectly straight. A way to get around this would be to put a 4-jaw chuck on my lathe, and then we could put up a dial indicator and get that end of the handle as centered as humanly possible. However, I didn't do that. So after we've center drilled it, I believe the first drill bit we're using here is a 3/16 bit, but it really doesn't matter. It just needed to be smaller than the end drill that we're going to use. And that bit will be a 17/64 bit for a 5/16 by 18 thread. But you can see how if that bit just grabbed or something with everything kind of out there in the wind, it could have gotten disastrous. You like to keep your work as close to the chuck jaws as possible on these small lathes. So here we are with the end ball, and we've got a little bit different of an issue with it, and that is that we need to face it, but we want to get that face as perpendicular as we can get. So I'm going to put a dial indicator on it and kind of just turn it. We weren't super precise when we cut this off, but we were pretty close. I mean, we're probably within a 1/16 of an inch on the seam of that end ball. So using a dial indicator and just tapping it with a punch and a hammer, you can get it dialed in relatively true. And once we've got that done, which I didn't record a lot of it, this probably took about 20 minutes to get it where I wanted it, then we can go ahead and face it. Now there is a little bit of a burr on that cut surface already, simply because of the bandsaw and how the part fell off of there after it was cut. But once we've got it faced, then we'll be ready to center drill it. Basically the same thing we did with the handle. And then we'll repeat the 2 drill bits that we used. And then we're going to take the handle over to the vise. You probably can't really tell there, but the drilled hole is just slightly off center, but not enough for us to really be concerned with. So next we're going to tap this out for the 5/16 by 18 thread. And in the process of this, I went through multiple issues with these handles, finally choosing the pin vise and a screwdriver. Yeah, those smaller taps are a real pain in the butt in my opinion, but got to work with what you got, and I've got cheap Harbor Freight taps and dies. So Maybe one day I'll spend money on a quality set. So here we are with the end ball, and we're basically going to do the exact same thing. Whenever I go to estate sales, I'm always looking to see if I can find like a full set of like 1950s Craftsman tap and die set. The kind that came in like wood boxes, and I see them every once in a while, but a lot of times they're incomplete. So once we've gone ahead and drilled and tapped all of that, we're going to clean all of that stuff up, and then we're going to install the threaded rod. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to spin that threaded rod in there, and then I'm going to mark once it bottomed out, and that'll let me know the depth of how far it can go in there, and I'll do the same for the handle. Then we'll cut the threaded rod, and then we're ready to come back and install the threaded rod. So I'm using permanent thread locker. Now in this vise, it's small enough that I really don't need like grade 8 threaded rod or anything like that. Just, this will work fine. So we'll go ahead and spin that in there and then tighten it into the handle. And then we'll clean up some of that thread locker on there. And that should permanently be attached unless you want to use heat to remove it. And then we'll just spin the ball on there to make sure everything's mating up like it should. And this will allow the owner of the vise to remove the handle should he need to do so. And it will make it easier to clean up the handle and the main screw as we continue with this series. So that's going to wrap up this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please like and subscribe. In the next video, we'll be wire wheeling a lot of these parts. So as always, I appreciate the support, and I will see you guys next time.